Hello, everybody. Thanks for stopping by. Hope you're all well. Welcome to the 144th Wednesday poetry reading put on by the Brooklyn Rail as part of the oddly named New Social Environment, episode 867. This reading has been curated by Lewis Freedman. It is called Lake Whelm or the World. And I'm going to turn things over to Lewis to do the intros and the hosting. He's put together a great lineup for us today with Bryon Cherry, Naima Lowe, Joey Yearous Algozin, and poupeh missaghi. This is a regular weekly series, and we always ask somebody to ask some others to read with them. And that's the way that this works. If you're here for the first time, you might pay attention to things posted in the chat. As the readers come on, there'll be links to their various works and endeavors, along with some basic information about the Brooklyn Rail. It's a pleasure to have y'all here, and I'm going to turn things over to Lewis, and I'll improvise Lewis's bio. He actually typed it up and sent it to us, and it got posted, but I need to lie at least once per reading, so I actually made this up. Lewis Freedman is a poet typing this bio on his laptop at a desk in a room in a home in Tulsa, Oklahoma at 33 a.m. on Wednesday, July 26th. This morning, after taking the dog for a walk and having some breakfast, he dropped the car off at the mechanics and then walked 40 minutes home. The high today in Tulsa is said to be 104 degrees Fahrenheit. Books of poems published under his name include Residual Synonyms for the Name of God and I Want Something Other Than Time. Please welcome Lewis Freedman.
Hello, thank you all for being here. Thank you, Anselm. That was wonderfully improvised. I'm guessing the high in Tulsa today is about 104 or 105 again, though I'm not sure, because I'm in Madison, Wisconsin at a round table. And I do find it difficult to operate at a round table using rectangular devices, but I'm doing my best. Yeah. I'm really excited for this. I made up a sort of slogan this morning for Lake Whelm, and I was going to begin before saying these silly things I just said. I was going to begin by saying, welcome to Lake Whelm, nothing under or over before it. That was my slogan I made up. You guys get what I'm saying. Anyway, I'm so excited for this reading today, and thank you so much to the Brooklyn Rail for hosting it. And our first reader today will be Bryon Cherry. And I'll say that before I read Bryon's bio that, yeah, I just love Bryon's writing, the intelligence of its music, the way that he, I suppose, follows image into a kind of emergence of meaning. Yeah, and Bryon and I have been exchanging work and in conversation for about 5 years now, and it's such a great pleasure to be in this virtual space with him. And also, Bryon, I hope to visit you in person tomorrow when I go to Milwaukee. But I'll also read your bio, which says that Bryon Cherry is a poet and musician. His work has been featured in Return to the Gathering Place of the Waters Anthology, as well as South Florida Poetry Journal. In 2021, he was named an emerging poet in Milwaukee, Wisconsin by St. John's on the Lake. His new chapbook, Death Moan, is currently out on Willow Books. In music, he's released 8 albums, and in 2021, he was named the best R&B soul artist in Wisconsin by the Wisconsin Area Music Industry Awards. Born and raised in Milwaukee, he is of and shaped by his evolving home city. He is guided by what he considers to be magical forces, listening and love. Please welcome Bryon.
Hello, everybody. I'm Bryon Cherry. And these are some poems from that book, Death Moan. This is called You're Gonna Make It After All. Shoe store is burning. I'm flexing out front. This convenient circus crawls. It lets them keep cozy gentrification, chimera perch. Minnesota nice upside your head. Always heard you ain't gotta be scared to get your ass kicked. I am the reverent friction of the ghost, the one who convinced me to burn, the one chained to my clammy comfort. My skin is apocalyptic. My skin is war helicopters over protest cities. Apparitions do not fear, they do the scaring. Apparitions systematically pop and lock to the rockets, red ass glare. This is about late stage capitalism. It's called Eat Everything. The siege starts without warning, everyone eating everything. Grim progression of gyrating plates. You know the street's dead, but it ain't stopped the killing. Merchant mercenaries hot for an investment. Like it was said, something is decapitated. It ain't like its head was ever in the right place though. It's filthy rich out here beyond the surface. It's belly full of justification and an arch denialism. Coltrane beaming Alabama from implications. Never knew enough to make it. Tripped up on the sour vine floor. Heaven, you and I got a problem. Heaven, intercede or fully join the riot. Hope everybody's doing well out there. It's interesting to be on Zoom. I haven't been on Zoom in a while. So it's interesting to be in that world again. I'm from, like they were saying, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Great town on the Great Lake. This is called The Prophecy Must Be Concealed. Like a street brawl, not in a film, we lack strong backbeat, an icon drug on loan, predicting a specific heat, a heaven made of exits. Please put the money in my hand slow, like a pocket full of Lucy's, illicit, so we lack space to breathe. One handshake, one chokehold to another, this where we dream sleep and sleep, rotations round a mechanically stoked fire, grinding spin, the machinations of plates, what reanimates this perilous plane are horny ghost prophets, what to make of the ambiguous invectives, the ambient lighting, the rage of gods, a pocket knife suddenly sticks like hitting dice, and all the tender folks can't stop laughing. So this book came out in April through Willow Books out of Detroit. So I've been super happy with it and having a good time. This is called Because the Sky is Blue. Lipstick disaster, processions of possessions, marked up like Bano bloated prophecies in this ochre cemetery century. They say it is all fractals, impose problems to be solved and resurrect aims to be surrendered and annexed as axes begin to take grind, gritted teeth attached to despair skulls, cathedral cranial compartments where electricity is crystallized, cemented into reality as has been constructed, construed by others, many of whom have already sought refuge in death, in leaving cardboard, cutout, confusion. It seems especially hot in here where they call it mania. Pretenses and golden pistons suspended in the spring shivery air that is soldiering solemnly through the environment to touch that which has no choice but to come, call it summer, to this hell of an invisible, inevitable mission that this enigma has been on, dining on hearts, but first placing them in dominant fists towards sky, emblazoned with entranced eyes, and to think it all takes place at no additional cost to the believer. Let's see. It's called Untitled 108. Dig a shallow grave, swallow and baptize there the press of God shrapnel from the sky, harvesting the earth, its inhabitants. Device operating as you kneel, decide which filter will make this moment the truest. Her head is a tomb, the water so blue, unconscious play strengthening legs for the long journey ahead. Voltaic organisms, or I don't give a fuck. Once you were in the air, after the jump on trampoline, then second bounce becomes a mere inevitability. The wind this day, this mid-morning, 11:32 a.m., 5 3/4 seconds to 11:33 a.m., is a performance vehicle doing its wind work with little to no effort, it seems. 11:33 is a special number, but it never gets to passing. How any imaginary thing could be more special than another imaginary thing, and how humans immersed in limited periscope understanding could discern that to be true. Those humans always placing atoms in collider at CERN so that other collections of atoms can commence studying the collider atoms to find out how these atom battlefields came to begin in this self-referential experience. Like a bag of trap house money, we atoms are stashed and cinematically sullied, but we still spiritually suckle at the indiscernible teat. Decide on your emergency contact. Death is here, but it is like a meme of which you want to steal its clever image, but then your social media refreshes as existence slides you one more nearly imperceivable fuck you. Yet for now, death is done, or at least quiet. The oven has gone ding. All of you are now leavened above the trance-like trampoline. That is, all of you are leavened from dead things. Previously dead atoms now thrive, now sending signals that bodies must feed off the ecstatic liturgy of other soon-to-be dead atoms. This abattoir really is beautiful here in the spring, with the blossoms bending in unintended fragrant mannerisms like machine-created effigies in the warming sun. The atoms of blood now curly-cued down, illogically placed drained, engraved, and engorged in the bottom of sloped killing floor. And so, that is gravity. That is gravity. We are gravity. I hope everybody is doing well. I truly mean that. Just from a human to human basis, I know it's been some tricky times for a lot of people, and I hope that we're here joining the community in respite of that. So this is about my best friend in the entire world. It's called Everything Means Nothing to Me, after Elliott Smith. She says death and weed and long ago hurts and how they still battering and newer reasons to be aggrieved, like a new, boring, repetitive job, both parents dead, a complicated longing, like some man inappropriately touching her, like there's a God trapped inside itself, talks of not knowing how to breathe in darkness, light being just a refracting fomenting agent. She says she would not do death to herself. She says she has no goals. Fuck having goals. She speaks of death as a means to cohere these stone trinkets she carries that have no intention, no means for coherence. For the edification of my daughter, human it survives in small blossoms, reticent elegy, all wound up in expectations and endings, quivering bow to a continual cello string, ineffable remains of a charred yet defiant translucent universe, a vessel caught on the contuents of never connecting confluence, cloud cluster of iridescent stars which have not been reduced in her somatic cloth, cries out like wolves who have placed oracles in stone bellies, existence belying the false nature, her holding on always like double knots banded against the expanse until it is time to let go. This next one is a crack sonnet about Minnesota. It's called On the 32nd State in 2020. Stars are vague tonight. Many mother portals open. Wild tongues reach for high flames. Thelonious Monk plays brilliant corners on a zephyr. The people lock arms. The ritual calls for blood. Blood where the meaning of blessing is derived. Blessed mother words. Halogen halo streetlights insist. Halo halogen light street fight the dark. Tattered strands of legitimate conclusions. Culminations of deified violence. Cataclysmic shifting bedrock. So I think we're almost at the 10-minute mark, so I'll read a few more if that's okay. On a boat, July 23rd, 2021. You will foresee the moon in burst blood, then you will see the moon in full blood bloom. You will understand the gloom, yet you will still have no way to adjust crimson sadness. You will birth thoughts and pine for the way it never was for us humans. Those revelers on the party boat will not will themselves to see that the pregnant red orb is due to raging wildfires thousands of miles to the west. The earth is death. It would feel good to say that out loud on a party boat where the band is playing, on a party boat where no one is listening to you. It will be beautiful. It will be beautiful. This is just a short thing. Daisy chained words. Old picture of a new world. Virgin symbol synchronicity. Braggarts emboldened. Chase scene to cut. The fierce gazelle touches and is ripped to death. And the baby in the comatose apartment in Harlem at 3 a.m. begins his cry. And this is something that's newer. I'll do this as the second to last poem. This is something that is newer. It's called Northeast Kitchen Window. The Northeast kitchen window is open. The wind is sharp, ornate, Ornette Coleman, saxophonic, symphonic, silhouette cascading through. The word is grievance as it astutely breaks down into pure grief, too soon to be a state of statistical slandering found on a vacant laugh, too often draped in an identity, daft connotations, sun-spun sunshine, our heroic figurine, volumetric bourbons, chattel, glimpses of hate, declaring spaces as days, a sea revision, timber of a violent rain pang, as delusions meet you, him, her in future. That was that piece. And this is, to finish it off, the last poem in my book, which is called Good Ass Intro after Chance the Rapper. I've obtained a heart like a rock, a stop, drop, hatchet rocket, glare on red, and it is at the bottom of the deepest sea. I am a muted symphony, all kinds of resonance deferred, a symbol from marbled maze noise, the hum of extant ecstasy trembles in death steps, the battle hymn of the beset republic, the lynchings, the broken land promises, the abject fear, the heart-wrenching notion that perhaps this can be better. Those oh so very human tillers that have/are tending to these bloody beatific acres. so that it could someday perhaps perish and thusly be reseated upon new entangled collage collisions in a fashion that could only be thought of as the only comic tragic culmination, where closure shows itself to be a smirking plateau on the way toward apparition, artifice, acclivity. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much, Bryon. Yeah, that was really beautiful. Our next reader will be poupeh missaghi. And poupeh, though we are only now meeting by face for the first time, I have met you by page before. I felt that you were there. When I was thinking about the four readers today and what links their work, I thought of something that then I thought was too general to say, which is that that they're all writers of the crisis in various ways, all writers of, perhaps I would say, the epistemological crisis. But it's maybe too general to say, because how could we not be writers of the crisis in one way or another at the moment? But in Poupeh's work, I'm really moved by the way that Poupeh writes a temporal instability. And it's a temporal instability that bridges, I think, the individual and collective crises in startling ways. Poupeh missaghi is a writer, translator, and editor. Her debut book, Transrelating House 1, came out from Coffee House Press in 2020. Her second novel, Sound Museum, is forthcoming from Coffee House Press next year. She also has 2 translation books forthcoming in 2023 and 24. Poupeh is an assistant professor of literary arts and studies at the University of Denver and a faculty mentor at Pacific Northwest College of Art, Low-Res NFA. She is currently, though not currently, based in Denver, Colorado. Thank you, Poupeh. Please welcome Poupeh.
Thanks, Louis, for the introduction, and thanks, Brooklyn Rail, for having us, and Bryon, thanks for that beautiful, heartfelt reading. I'm going to actually read from an essay, a very recent one, that is from an ongoing project called Flowers in Bloom, a bilingual encyclopedia. So this is going to be a collection, but this is one of the very first chapters. And the title is Nargis or Narcissus. I want to speak to you today, my dear reader, listener, about the species of the flower narcissus, though not in the botanical sense of the flower, but in the personal world-making sense of it, in the translational, transnational sense, and the many migrations between the there of my life and the here of my life, arriving and departing from myself. A bilingual dictionary or the languages menu of Wikipedia will tell you that narcissus in English is in Persian nargis. But Wikipedia's equivalence is not quite right, hides so much, reveals not much. So come sit with me and listen and let me tell you a story. Nargis is my most favorite flower, the one that makes my heart stop, so I can say without reservation that I love it, the way you love a non-human, or why separate, the way you love a human too. That's how I feel I love the flower. Nargis is for me the scent of winters in Tehran, and only a few years ago, many years after this love story started, I learned that it is the flower for my birth month, the month of Azar, the 9th month on the Persian calendar, which is the month of fire, not just astrologically, but also literally in the Persian word. It's 10th or 11th day, marking the beginning of the month of December. And so now it makes so much sense to me that Nargis for me is the scent of winters in Tehran, the city of my birth, my dreams, my daydreams, the city I hope to one day return to, the city of the first language in my body, a language whose embrace of Nargis is quite different from that of its English relative, Narcissus. The English name of the flower shares its etymology with narcissism. Does this mean the flower in English is a narcissist? Can non-humans be narcissists? But the Persian one has no awareness of the psychic concept Freud brings to our attention as, quote, adoration one accords oneself in light of being an object of sexual desire, which means, according to the narcissistic type, one loving what one is, what one was, what one would like to be, or an other who was once part of oneself. Love has been defined in many ways, but one that I've been pondering for a while is how Hannah Arendt delves into it in The Life of the Mind. In the section on Augustine, the first philosopher of the will, who is also known as the person originating the genre of the confession, even though today the term confession is mainly used for writing by women, or rather non-male authors, not for writings by men, even if they write autobiographically and confess to what they have done in their lives. Augustine, according to Arendt, quote, diagnoses the ultimate unifying will that eventually decides a man's conduct as love, end of quote. And the key here for me is the word will, reminding me that love is not just there to give or to be received, but needs to be willed. And this might be a totally wrong reading of what Augustine says, but this is what I'm hearing where I'm pausing. Augustine also says, quote, love is the weight of the soul, its law of gravitation, that which brings the soul's movement to its rest, end of quote. Further on, Arendt notes how Augustine emphasizes that, quote, the love that stills the will's turmoil and restlessness is not a love of tangible things, but of the footprints that sensible things have left on the inwardness of the mind. In the case of love with capital L, the lasting footprint that the mind has transformed into an intelligible thing would be neither the one who loves nor his beloved, but the third element, namely love itself, the love with which the lovers love each other, end of quote. In my notebook from the time I took an online course during the COVID-19 lockdown on Hannah Arendt at the Brooklyn Institute of Social Research, taught by Samantha Rose, whose book on Arendt came out in 2021, I jotted down, what you love is not the thing itself, but the impression it leaves on you. And we should not just be thinking about the other or about justice. It's necessary to love justice, to love the other. But how can love for the other and love for justice join each other and accompany each other while we are situated within the larger corrupt systems of the world, of which not only the politicians, but also we are participants and not mere observers? And what is even the use of these two terms sitting next to each other when Nargis is bundles of narcissists, the so-called children of work, sell at the intersections of Tehran's streets, moving around and between cars idling behind the red light, while its timer counts the seconds down or stays frozen on some random number, while the traffic officer manually guides the traffic, often making it worse than what it needs to be. The flowers smell like the heavens, make you fall in love again and again, but you can't separate that love from your heart breaking for the kids trying to sell them, kids whose very naming has been tied to their being forced to earn a living. When they arrive in town, they being the flowers, not the children of work, because the children are always there, merely changing jobs with the seasons. It's either late Awan or early Azar, the season of the fall. And the weather is getting colder in Tehran and the air more polluted than in the other months of the year because of the environmental phenomenon known as air inversion. And these young kids out in the streets the whole time are exposed to it more than many other residents of the city. Even on the days the air pollution markers are undangerous and there are warnings for the young and the old to stay at home. These flower kids should not be there working. They should be kids smelling these flowers and not selling them. So what does love have to do with it all when you fall in love through the flowers and with the kids selling you the flowers and the streets that become their open air flower shops? In the end, your mere love for the other and for justice fails to have any power over the lives of the hands that hand you your bundle of Nargis. In the end, you leave, you have left not just the streets to go back to your apartment, but zooming out the digital map, but also the neighborhood, the city, the country, the region, your homeland. You have left them behind, and with them, a big part of yourself. Justice never attained, not even looming on the horizon. It was in the month of the year my beloved flower Nargis first appears, that is in Aban or November of the year 2019, that hundreds of Iranians got brutally killed during protests against the sudden rise of gas prices, killed while the internet was shut down, turning the map of data and internet traffic in the country completely black. While I and many others on this side of the borders stared at our phones every second of the day and the night, waiting for some news, any news, to reach us from the void that had opened in front of us, devouring many of our loved ones into it. And it was in the month of Aban, November of the year 2021, that an international people's tribunal, the first in the history of Iran, was held, not in Tehran, but in London, to investigate crimes against human rights committed by the Islamic Republic regime, specifically with regards to the events of November 2019, with witnesses providing evidence of the killing of more than 300 Iranians, including children, in that 2019 month now called Aban Khunin, which translates to Bloody November. But that equivalent is not one and the same as the original phrase. Because what do you, my dear listener in English, knows of those days of bloodbath, those days of silent horror? Even if you do know the information, I doubt that you felt any of it, carry traces of it in your body tissues, or the fear of it once again happening. You might disagree with me thinking about empathy and our capacity to feel, but when it comes to empathy, I'm often reminded of what Natalia Diaz said in conversation with David Neiman on Between the Covers podcast, that empathy is impossible because even if we feel another person's pain, we are still feeling it through our own body, in our own shoes, not theirs. She also raised an important point about it that I cannot shake off since I heard it in the small kitchen of my Brooklyn apartment. I can even remember precisely where I was standing and what I was doing. Quote, if there really was empathy, I wouldn't be able to take it because I can't imagine something happening elsewhere happening to me. Here we are. I guess the thing is that the only thing that feels at stake in empathy is that it has not happened to me. End of quote. And this is true about me and the children selling my beloved flowers. Otherwise, I couldn't have once upon a time bought the flowers, gotten home, and arranged them in vases, each time a different one, the round matte blue one with star-like engravings, or the short, large see-through rectangle with metal flowers on one side, depending on how many bunches I had bought, enjoying their scent and their beauty when I knew I had left behind the kids. Or if I truly empathized, I would feel paralyzed even writing about the kids when I know today, in the year 2023, their situation is more dire due to the horrifying economic conditions in Iran. Where is the love and empathy and the will for action in all this? How could the beauty and the scent of Nargis protect the kids and the people of my country against the bullets, literal and figurative, being aimed at them from all sides? I guess I can just stop here.
Thank you so much, poupeh. That was wonderful. Our next reader will be Joey Yearous Algozin. I would say I've been writing in conversation with Joey's writing for about 19 years or something like that, a very long time. Yeah, and I'm so thankful for Joey being willing to read today. He's not had the easiest last week, which perhaps Willow won't tell you about. I don't know now. Oh, that fucked up. I'm sorry. That was bad, Joey. Um, but I want to say that no, but Joey's work of recent years, he's invented this sort of voice that he just like speaks quite impossibly in a way that can account for, I guess, the impossible distance between us and all the ends we see approaching, or the ends which crowd our present. And yeah, and it's such astonishing work, and I'm so pleased to introduce him. Yeah, and I'll read your bio you wrote also, Joey, which says that Joey Yearous Algozin is the author of A Feeling Called Heaven that came out from Nightboat, I think in 2021, and Utopia, and the multi-volume The Lazarus Project, among many other books. With Holly Melgard, he has co-authored a trilogy of books, Holly Melgard's Friends and Family, White Trash, and Liquidation. He's a founding member of the publishing collective Troll Thread, and he lives in Brooklyn. Please welcome Joey.
Thanks, Louis. Everyone can hear me okay? I'm always worried these headphones are shit, so I'm always wondering if they're working, but they're working, they're good. Okay, as Louis pointed out, I managed to get COVID on Saturday, and so I feel completely insane right now, but my voice is fine. I'm going directly to bed after this, but this is lovely, and I wish that I could feel more effusive about it or I could be more effusive as I feel. I don't fucking know. I'm honestly barely hanging on. How's everybody doing? You good? All right, I'll start. I'm going to read from a chapbook that came out last year that a good friend put out, Bianca Messinger, called Meditation on Intimacy and Collapse. It starts with an epigraph from Simone Weil that I want to read, and so I will, which is, may I disappear in order that those things that I see become perfect in their beauty from the very fact that they are no longer things that I see. So this is, it's a long piece, so I'll just read straight through. As we begin, I'd like you to find a spot on the floor, somewhere you can lie down comfortably, your feet falling away from each other, arms resting by your side, with the palms pointed towards the sky. I ask that you close your eyes, bringing your attention inward and focus on the breath, noticing how your chest and diaphragm, lungs and shoulders rise and fall in rhythm with the rate in which you take in the air of the room around you with each breath. Feel how your body pivots as you breathe in before pushing the breath back out. And in that brief pause, I want you to remember that each moment is a decision, each instant a choice to continue, even with something as unconscious as this intake of breath, and that we've made the choice to be here together, regardless of who you were before our meeting, the shame you felt and the compromises you've made to get here, or the pain of grinding out one day after the next. It doesn't exist within this moment, but on either side of it. Here, the pressure you create internally in the desire to love and suppress anger or disappointment with the world and its celebration of suffering is replaced with the gentle pressure of your body pushing against the floor that rises to meet it, cradling and supporting you as you lie here in the ground's embrace, open to the vibrations traveling across the earth's surface, the minor frequencies of the world beyond this room, which take on a rhythm that the body cannot imitate, only stand in relation to, like the inhuman movement of a muslin curtain caught in the almost imperceptible breeze, traveling through an open window in a hospital waiting room, where images of mountains and streams cast against blue skies play on video screens mounted to each wall, chairs surrounded by muslin dividers, providing a modicum of privacy, allowing you to feel the isolation that something like illness has caused in your life. And as you bring your attention away from the breath, shifting it to the moving fabric, you realize that no matter how hard you concentrate, you can't sync your breath with its faint undulations in the air in which you're embedded. And it's this incommensurability, this barely noticeable distance between your body and its surroundings that allows for this expression of inhuman movement to emerge, mere repetition of an arbitrary event that reminds you, however faintly, that you're not the center of this world, but its periphery, or rather that your presence here in this room does not altogether matter. And it's this meaninglessness, this absence of your need to take up this space that shows you that all we're occupying together here and now is simply a place of waiting. And in this way, each case is terminal, but waiting can assume its own contours and geography, motionless and still, suggesting a shape to the sloping land that falls away from your resting body. In the same way that, say, a red-winged blackbird's presence in the grass surrounding a retention pond at the back of a parking lot of a half-built subdivision articulates the larger field around it as it rises up, taking flight, or the imagined sound of the wind's movement through the same grass, just as sound effects have been added to the nature documentary on the waiting room TV, noise dubbed over an animal's movement, without which we could not recognize the scene as real. And as you return to the breath, I want you to place yourself in this field, lying down in the tall grass, feeling the stems break under the weight of your body. As you lie across the damp ground that never quite lost its dew from the night before, breathing in, you feel yourself sinking into the soft earth, the points of contact, the feet and hands spreading to the lower back and shoulders, your vision directed towards the sky and the few clouds moving lazily across it. The grass's inflorescence barely visible at the edges of your sight. As you lie here, you can feel each blade bending away from its stem, lightly touching your skin. As you breathe out, sinking deeper into the earth, and as you descend lower, feeling the cool earth cover your body, these points of contact becoming a holistic sense of the ground. You continue to breathe, sinking further until the dirt covers you up to your shoulders and chest, your buttocks and thighs. A few grains of wet dirt make their way into your mouth, which you may welcome and press with your tongue against the hard palate of the roof of your mouth, as the dirt slips beneath the tongue or collects in the dark crevice where the gums and lips meet, caught in the gaps in the teeth. You continue to breathe, feeling your body sink lower into the ground, joining the emptiness of the space between the parking lot and a copse of deciduous trees that block the wind traveling across empty lots in the distance. Returning your attention to the breath and the pause between this breath and the next, in which you can hear the sound of a stray car punctuating the noise of the world. As you continue to lie on this fallow strip of land, feeling the warmth of the sunlight as you're breathing in, sinking further into the cool dirt beneath you, these points of contact spreading throughout your body as the dirt covers your hands, which until this moment remained open to the sky, as if to welcome the hand of another, anticipating its warmth, pressing against the skin such that within that touch, we can locate something we might have called the soul, a sense of ourselves, come alive through this brief contact. But as the dirt covers your cheeks and head, everything but your nose and mouth, this sense of soul extends beyond this fugitive and transitory point of contact with the external world, giving you something like a general sense of union, or that the body, dissolving the boundaries between itself and outside, becomes something like a stage rather than an actor on it, or more accurately, through this removal and immersion into the background of an inconsequential and forgotten space. All there is to do now is to be present in this moment, waiting as it takes over. Your hands, now buried under the earth, as the grass begins to grow in the dirt, once disturbed by your presence, as the individual seed germinates, pushing through your body, piercing the now pliant flesh as it reaches towards the open air, in the process of growth and elongation, as each individual shoot extends towards the sky, and the dirt fills in, and the ground covers with vegetation, and the copse continues its collective movement towards the empty lot beside this patch of grass and beyond, such that their roots come to obliterate all memory of your presence. Or that it's something like a camera left in an abandoned lot with its shutter open, passively recording whatever moves across its field of vision, or its opposite, bathing you and me in images streaming from its lens as we stand before it, knowing that what it articulates is simply a relation, like the one developing between us now, a speaker and listener, a kind of communication that can be spoken from one to another, because two are necessary to produce an encounter, or more accurately, express a form of love, in the insistence that we're sufficient, individually or together, rejecting these narratives of pain and vengeance, as all stories we tell ourselves about ourselves are only stories of love and death, such that when we injure each other, it's only because we're trying to correct an imbalance we feel within ourselves, a hope to create that imbalance externally, to give birth to it in the world. And for this reason, any injury, no matter how minor, is a form of evil that is ours and ours alone. It took me a long time to no longer feel shame for having created so much evil in the world, to accept that in no small part, this is what I am, and have it become something like a bare fact, contorted into something inanimate but temporary, like how light shimmers across the silver plastic of a discarded balloon caught in the top branches of a leafless tree, or weeds that seep through cracks of broken sidewalk to show that it is only this minor form of life that is inextinguishable. We can begin with an idea of a world reflected within the human, something like a lake mirroring the sky above it and the grass that grows along its edges as light strikes against water. A simple joy, but one that is aware that it is temporary, a positioning of the body, lying here, receptive to the world's fragility, understanding that what arises from such a meeting is valuable only because it's unnecessary. This coming together is simply a movement towards nothing, save a direction and momentum, or more accurately, a kind of acknowledgement that we live within the reality of a final moment in which what enters the world is simply an end. To regard what I've given you, or rather what we've given each other, as little more than a companion that brings a kind of joy. In the same quiet way a cat or dog asleep at the foot of your bed might accompany you as you start to drift off, only vaguely aware of these images which emerge in the half-drowsy attention of your conscious mind, acknowledging each one before sending them on their way, letting them spread out before you like stars, growing in number as they group themselves loosely into constellations, the names of which escape you as you begin to connect them with faint, incandescent lines, joining them together in shapes that resemble, say, a skeleton, poorly sketched across the black expanse of your mind, not unlike your own, onto which you can briefly direct your attention. And as you drift towards this projection of your corporal body, the latter becoming more abstract as you approach, so that this mental calm couples with a numbness, beginning in your solar plexus, radiating out to the extremity of each limb, until this muted vibration pulsates throughout your body, such that the pain that accompanies you in your daily life, the suffering that forms the way in which you recognize that the visual plane you experience as your own, becomes only a distant sensation that seems to continue to move further away. And as you watch it recede, you realize that your own body is not unlike, say, the stars. The sharpness of their edges against the blackness of the sky disappears. The boundaries of the world in which you find yourself embedded grow less and less distinct. So too does your own body, as if your muscles and tendons, your very flesh had begun to dissolve, leaving little trace, nothing more than a faint outline. And in this way, we come to understand that anything I have to say to you now, or what we've already said to each other, is of little importance, other than creating something for us to take with us, so that in this moment of calm, we can experience, sitting here in each other's company, something like the moment before the last, in which someone who perhaps resembles us, but is not us, will share before they watch themselves slip off together towards extinction. That we teach ourselves how to die in the shadow of any ordinary thing, say a bouquet of white and blue paper flowers pinned to the wall beneath two makeshift picture frames, that even as it decays, as the paper browns along its edges, collecting dust, as it turns from eggshell blue to a duller color, still holds the memory of its occasion and the labor of its folding. In the same way, the body breaks down, becoming something intangible that refuses to be something other than decay, or disappearance written in the hand, or glance across a room, knowing that not only your presence will dissolve, but the room itself will collapse, leaving the space open for whatever animals may wander in, tentatively at first, as they move through this space that still holds a trace of our presence. Okay, thank you very much. And thank you, Lewis and the Rail and everybody for asking me to read. Thank you.
Thank you, Joy, so much. Our last reader this afternoon will be Naima Lowe. Naima lives not 5 minutes from where I live in Tulsa. And I found Tulsa a very difficult place to cultivate a community and art practice. And in the last year, since Naima and I have really been in conversation, it's been so helpful and so astonishing to be in art making community with Naima, to watch the urgency of and flexibility and intelligence of her process, and to be speaking with her about my own process in this space. And so it's a great, great pleasure. And I'm very thankful to Naima for saying yes to this invitation to read to us. I'll also read your official bio, but thank you so much for being here. Naima Lowe is a Black, queer, disabled writer and artist who creates performances, texts, and videos using transgressive and radical traditions of Black utterance. Her work is imbued with ritual and music, steeped in the liberatory ethos of improvisation. Naima was a 2021-22 Mid-America Arts Alliance Interchange Artist Fellow, recipient of the 22-23 Mid-America Arts Alliance Artistic Innovation Award, and a recipient of a 2022 Jazz Road Creative Residency. Naima sells prints and drawings through trial and error, and since 2021 that is, has been the community coordinator for the online writing community at Lewis Place. Naima resides in Tulsa within the Muskogee Creek Nation Reservation, where she spends her time being free and talking to animals. Let's welcome Naima.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Lewis. Thank you for inviting me. Oh, hello, Leah just came in. That's exciting. My dear friend Leah is here. I have been working on a sort of large, I call it sort of concert length ghost story called Late Bloomer for the past year or so. And it's about, among other things, my sort of complex relationships to ambition and I guess sort of sexual and erotic power. And so I'm going to read from some sort of newer aspects of that I am working on. Hey. Love letters with ambition. If this is what I'm willing to tell you, imagine what I'm holding back. Imagine what I'm holding back. Imagine what I'm holding back. It turns out the human embodiment of my ambition and I have been writing each other love letters in dreams for centuries. Millennia, probably. He's afraid to show himself. I'm afraid of disappearing. He's a dirty mirror. I'm a dust cloth wiping things clean. Or maybe it's the other way around. I don't actually need his permission to be this big, but I like to pretend that I do. There's something useful in the dynamic of the wide-eyed novice opening herself shyly to the wizened old man with all the gifts. What is more appealing to ambition than an open-mouthed girl child, stubborn yet supple, petulant, brilliant, fearless, and greedy? I wonder what the utility is for him, the old man who's agreed to be the human embodiment of my ambition in this exchange. He won't tell me. It's fucking annoying. It's annoying because, of course, the answer is obvious, but secrets make stories more interesting. So at least in mixed company, we get to pretend that there is no there. Yes, this is a fraught seduction. And yes, I am a willing participant. Ambition is handsome in that slippery way that I like. He is a grindstone, and my nose is rubbing down to a dripping, oozing nub. So do I give up on ambition in favor of a higher purpose? Or is this the higher purpose? Is desire such a horrible thing? The power, no, the work. No, the power. Yes, the power comes and comes and comes and comes and comes and comes. The self-belief too. That's all mine, of course. The parts that aren't, I don't mind stealing because they were mine to begin with. I appreciate that the old man who offered himself to me so willingly as the personification of my ambition is generous with both praise and clarity. Yes, I do imagine myself as something like a god, a creator of me and a creator of you. Am I the goddamn center of the goddamn universe? Yes, yes, I am. And we both know it. So what? That's what I told my ambition once, and he didn't flinch, but he did smile a tiny, recognizing smile. It's nice to see the edges of what letting go can feel like. He's quite old, as the human embodiment of my ambition likes to remind me so often, and therefore probably strong enough to carry the weight of my most sinuous stories. Does clumsily but knowingly beguiling an old man into becoming the human embodiment of my ambition make me a villain? Does his willingness to be swallowed whole by a nimble young throat make him one? That would be strange because I don't believe in villains. That is, I believe there are horrible, disgusting, evil people in the world who do the absolute worst things. But villains in stories are just desires that we don't feel permission to celebrate. Dear ambition, tell me what you want. No, not what you need. We already know that. Tell me what you want. No, don't tell me what I need. I already know that too. Stop trying to change the subjects. We both know what I want. Yes, we do. No, not that. No, not that either. Well, yes, that, but that's not what we're doing here. Oh, so you want what I want. Really? Be careful what you wish for. What I want is you to tell me what you want. I want you to tell me what you want. I want you to tell me what you want. From me? Yes. Yes, of course. From me. Okay? Okay. Okay? You're right. We could have been clear from the beginning. Let's take it from the beginning. What do you want from me? What do you want from me that only I can give? What do you want from me that only I can give? And don't say life. Anyone could do that. Yeah, anyone. I want you to tell me what you want me to do for you, with you, to you, yes. I'm asking so nicely, sort of. I've been so patient. Not really. You know exactly what you're doing. Sure do. I already know what you think I should hear. I'm interested in what you think I want you to say, but only as a matter of comparison. What I actually want to know is who you are. I mean, what you want. No, not for me, not what's best for me. We know what that is. Not what your therapist or my therapist thinks is best for us. Not what your ancestors or my ancestors or my best friend or your best friend tells us is true. Right, right. No. Yes. 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 Yes. What do you want that you think will scare me off to hear? What do you want to see? What do you want to touch? Where do you want to touch? We have already said yes. We'll keep saying yes. We won't stop saying yes. We are made out of yes. We won't stop. I've always said yes to you, and you keep pretending not to notice because you think that's the wrong thing to want. But you've taught me there's nothing wrong with wanting. There's sometimes something wrong with doing, but there's nothing wrong with wanting. And we've got the kind of hands that slip softly and easily between those two. So tell me what you want, not what's right. Don't bother telling me what's right or what's fair. Don't talk to me about fair. You and me, we left fair behind a long, long, long time ago. You and me, baby, we got way too lucky for anything to be fair. Fair is for people with nicer granddaddies than ours got to be. Fuck fair. Do you want me to go away and leave you alone forever? If you want me to go away and leave you alone forever, I will go away and leave you alone forever. But I don't think you want me to go away and leave you alone forever, even though I probably ought to go away and leave you alone forever. Do you want me to stay? Tell me what you want, and I'll do it if I can. If my body can manage the contortion, I'll do it. I promise to say yes. Tell me what you want for you, to you, with you, that only I can do. Tell me what you're not supposed to want from me. No, don't tell me why. I know why. We all know why. Don't tell me why we're biting our tongues chastely, carefully, needfully, correctly, politely, thoughtfully, graciously, hopefully. I know. And I care. And I'm sorry. Tell me what makes the elastic pull taut and snap crack over our big, sad hearts. If you tell me that you want me to go away forever, I'll be heartbroken because I'll believe you. I believe you won't lie to me about what you want. I believe you'll lie to me about what you need. I believe you'll lie to yourself too, but not about want. Not want. Not want. Not want. Never want. Want is too sacred a line to cross. And so here we are, two very real people sitting across from each other on this dull yellow comforter in the awkward little studio apartment I've rented for the weekend near your house, smiling about this slick, ragged cleft that's the passage between us. It's a secret, and it breathes and weeps and turns pink when air touches. That's the shape of this very specific knife or story that he's holding at our necks so lovingly. It pours pus like a book hacked to bits, this phantom limb, this clump of nerves, this wind tunnel that we lean against from either side of a wall, rubbing our cheeks on prickling hairs that stand at attention when grazed, opening wide ears filled with the liquid of what's been and what's to come. And coming. So much is coming. We can't stay away from the opening, even though it smells a little bit like a rotting house, sweet and sad. I can't stop dragging the top of my hand across this fold, opening it slightly, letting it wheeze invisible blood droplets into my living room and maybe my abdomen. I don't want to stop. I promise. I can imagine you trying to sew up the other side, applying a salve made of manuka honey and deer spit, but that's a lie. And you've taught me not to lie about wanting, so I won't. Wait, are we still talking about ambition here? Or are you someone else entirely? I didn't make this blade with my hands, but I will twist them deep in your middle if you want me to. Is that what you want me to do? Or do you want me to go away and leave you alone forever? Or do you want me to be patient? Or do you want me to do all the work? Or do you want me to lay down and take it? Or do you want me to tell you you're a terrible person? Or do you want me to think I'm a wonderful person? Or do you want me to die of a broken heart? Or do you want me to keep saying what I see? Or do you want me to be a secret? Or do you want me to be your secret? Or do you want me to keep your secrets? Or do you want me to find your secret hiding spots? What should we look for in your secret hiding spot? Do you want me to be the canary? Do you want me to be the gold digger? Do you want me to be him? Do you want me to be her? Do you want me to be a good little girl? Do you want me to be a treacherous old man? Do you want me to have a big belly or a little belly? Do you want me to have big thighs or little thighs? Do you want me to have a big fat ass or a cute little ass? Do you want my skin to be smooth and poreless like a blow-up doll? Or do you want my skin to be smooth and poreless like a painting? Or do you want my skin to be smooth and poreless like a little lost boy? Do you want to see my scars? I'll show you mine if you show me yours. I'll show you mine if you show me yours. Yours truly, Naima. Thank you. Thank you all. And thank you, Lewis, Brooklyn Rail, and everyone for the invitation. This was really lovely. So excited to have seen and learned about all of your work and to share with you. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you again, Anselm and Carolyn and the Brooklyn Rail. And thank you again, Bryon and poupeh and Joey and Naima. That was wonderful to listen to. Yeah. In a different space than an hour ago.
Thanks, Lewis. Thanks for putting this together. Gonna have to have you come back and read some of your poems sometime, but not gonna force the issue today. Next time. Thanks, everybody. Can we unmute everyone to say hello and goodbye and call it a reading?
Thank you. Thank you all so much. That was so brilliant. Thank you.
This was great. Thank you, everyone. I'm glad we were in. The reading was perfect, Liz, right? Just like how our works spoke to one another.
Yeah, I
Thank
really
you.
enjoyed everything
Great
about
reading.
this. So thank you guys.
Thank you.
So
Feel better,
beautiful.
Joey.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Hansel.
everybody. That was amazing.
So
Thanks all for being here.
have an inspiring Wednesday, everyone.